for y'all. She's right here. And she's kind of fighting her sleep right now, so if you hear her. What's up, YouTube and Get It Gang? It's your girl Z Corley, and we back at it again. We just gonna jump right into it. Not too much on the intro and all that stuff, so let's get into it, okay? So first off, I did decide to have a private pregnancy. And so for those who don't know, like, I just didn't post much on my social media about, being pregnant or, pictures of my bump or any of that stuff. And if I did, it was after the fact. So, like, just recently. Because now Eris will be 2 weeks. Or she's going on 2 weeks. So yeah. I didn't post much about the baby on social media. I didn't post about my pregnancy on social media. But the people that did know about my pregnancy were like people that I told. So like a few family members, my parents, of course, and then of course like people that would see me, because I did work during some of my pregnancy, like people that saw me out or whatever, like that I was working with, they knew. The main reason why I decided to do that instead of posting about, because now that I done had the baby and people are finding out, they're just like, oh, congratulations, and oh my God, I didn't know you were pregnant. And I was like, that was the point, like, mission accomplished. Like, the main reason to keep it private was because it just kind of lessened the stress, that comes with, pregnancy and just people in general. Like, it's a bunch of stress. But yeah, I wanted to lessen the stress. Even with some of my family members that I did tell, I didn't always get a very positive, outcome and all that stuff. But, it is what it is. People are entitled to their own opinions and all that stuff. Like, at the end of the day, your decisions are your decisions, and people gonna feel how they feel regardless. So by doing a private pregnancy, like, I was chilling. I was really happy. I got to learn more about myself during, my pregnancy, my body changes and all that stuff. So it was very peaceful for me, to have that time to myself. I also went as far as in deleting my social media towards the end of my pregnancy. I want to say for like the last month or so, just to like mentally prepare myself for like giving birth and like letting everything sink in, thinking about how far I came and all that stuff, and just getting my body ready just to, bring a whole new person into this world. During my pregnancy, I did spend a lot of time, like especially towards the end of my pregnancy, I did spend a lot of time at home. The last 3 months of my pregnancy, I didn't work, which for me, it's kind of like, it went both ways. It was a win-win. For me, it was a win-win. Even though, of course, people be thinking like they're gonna work until they water break, and like I was like that, no cap. But it didn't work out like that for me. God had other plans and all that stuff, and I'm completely fine with that. Like, God was doing his thing, so I let him be God and let him do what, lead and guide me how he wanted to and how he saw fit. So I didn't work the last 3 months, and God still provided. So I was extremely grateful for that. There's a lot of things going around about people, what you take during your pregnancy and all that stuff. I didn't take no prenatals. I did drink okra water starting at, I'll say like 36 weeks. I was active during my pregnancy. I would try to walk a mile every day, or at least an hour and a half to 2 hours every day, which helped a lot. And I'll talk about that later on in the video and why that did help. Staying active most definitely does help during your pregnancy. So if you're watching this and you're expecting, make sure you stay active during your pregnancy. Like, it does help a lot. For those who can, for those who can't, like, do what works best for you. So that's all I can say. So going towards the end of my pregnancy, and now this is supposed to be like the labor and delivery and all that stuff, but I gotta let y'all know like how we even got there, So towards the end of my pregnancy, it kind of got a little antsy, because once you get into those final weeks and you're ready for the baby to come, you kind of get antsy and you're just like, okay, I'm ready, like when is she gonna be here? I told my doctor, my OBGYN, I told her that I was thinking that the baby is gonna come between 37 and 38 weeks. And so, I was also looking at ways to self-induce and all that stuff. Like, I've been seeing a lot of stuff about taking castor oil, drinking this thing called midwife's brew and all that stuff. And I was really thinking about it. Like, I was like, okay, she don't come. I said between, mama, it's okay. Yeah, so I got her. For y'all, she's right here, and she's kind of fighting her sleep right now. So if you hear her, yeah, she's been going in and out. But yeah, so I was, telling myself, I was telling myself, I was like, oh, okay, she don't come, by, the 38 weeks or whatever, I was gonna try to self-induce. I even went and got the castor oil and all that stuff, and I was getting, thinking about taking it and all that stuff. But I didn't. I was watching videos of people taking it, talking about how nasty it was and all that stuff. But for some people, like, it worked. It really worked. And so I was thinking, maybe I could take it and, it might work for me. But yeah, I didn't end up taking it. But yeah, so my 37 weeks came. I went to my 37 weeks appointment. I had no signs of dilation, like at all. So they checked my cervix and I was, I was like, okay, that's fine. She was explaining to me how we still had, a few more weeks to go. Because the due date that they gave me was November 23rd. So she was literally going to be here the day before Thanksgiving. And, I was like, I don't want to be in the hospital for Thanksgiving, because one, hospital food is already nasty. And two, I wanted to eat good for Thanksgiving. And thank God I was able to eat good for Thanksgiving. Yeah, so I went to my 37-week appointment, no dilation, none of that stuff. The doctor told me we still had a few weeks to go. So I listened to her and I was like, okay, I left my appointment kind of discouraged because, I was getting ready to turn 38 weeks. And so instead of, taking castor oil and all that stuff, I just started to go for longer walks. So I noticed that kind of helped too. They tell you to go, like I was doing 1 mile, 2 miles almost every day, every other day. But, it wasn't, I guess my body started getting used to it because I was doing it throughout my whole pregnancy, that, it wasn't affecting me at all. I do recall like that week going into my 38 weeks, I took a 4-mile walk, and that really helped. Like taking that walk, and I didn't feel no pains and none of that stuff. Like it was really good. Like I took a 4-mile walk, and after that, like that was my last walk too. They tell you to start looking for signs of labor to indicate that that you're getting ready to go into labor. And one of those things has to do with like your mucus plug falling out. And usually by your 37 weeks or, getting towards the end of your pregnancy, when you start dilating, it'll fall out. But because I hadn't dilated at all, like it, of course, was still there. So my actual labor and delivery. So yeah, so let's get into it. So going into labor, I honestly didn't know that I was going into labor because, like I said, like I was looking for certain signs of labor that I was ignoring other signs of labor. For instance, um, sometimes they tell you like the difference between contractions and Braxton Hicks. They tell you that they tell you that Braxton Hicks feel like cramps, and like they are not as consistent as contractions. They don't intensify or none of that stuff. But they come in and they go out and all that stuff. Well, for me, like to compare contractions to cramps didn't really help because my period cramps, when I did have my period, were never that bad, like at all. So I really didn't, know what to expect. I was really just trying to figure out like if I was having contractions or having Braxton Hicks, because at first they weren't really, consistent. But I did have other signs that kind of, pointed towards me going into labor. That I didn't know, because like I said, I was looking for certain signs and ignoring other signs. So I was in labor for 3 days. So they took like I wasn't in active labor, but I was in labor. So I want to say that I started having like mild contractions. So it started at the beginning of the week. It was on a Sunday. I started having mild contractions on a Sunday. I did what we normally do on Sundays. We woke up, we went to church, and then while I was at church, like I was feeling some body aches and all that stuff in my stomach and my lower back. And so it wasn't really like unbearable and none of that stuff. They weren't consistent or anything like that. So I was just trying to ignore them in a way where they would just kind of like go away. I was like tired, like my body was like really tired. I remember coming home and was able to like sleep and take a nap and all that stuff. And I slept for a while and then ended up waking back up. But yeah, so, and then they carried on to that Monday. It was like throughout the whole day. Monday, it got a little bit worse. It was, it became to the point where it wasn't unbearable. It still wasn't unbearable, but it was like more, more consistent, and it was like more intense. It was more intense to the point where it's like I was having to literally like stand on the back of the couch and kind of like move my hips like back and forth, or just try to bounce on the medicine ball and try to keep my my mind off of it to help it kind of help my body release to what was going on. But then came Monday night, and your girl couldn't sleep, like at all. Like it came, like they was coming. Like at this point, I was still thinking like, okay, these is Braxton Hicks. Like these can't be contractions and all that stuff. Like, cause I'm still looking for my mucus plug. My plug still ain't fell out, so I thought, I still ain't seeing these signs of labor. And so I'm just like, this can't be it. But it got to the point like Monday night, I couldn't sleep at all. Like they were coming, like they started off at first like hours in between, and then it got up to 30 minutes. And I just went back and forth between trying to sleep on the couch, get comfortable on the couch, to going back to the bed. And I was like, nothing was working. But it got to the point every time that they hit, I was on all fours. Like like lit like I was on all fours. I couldn't even sit on the medicine ball because it would pain me to sit on the medicine ball and try to go through the contractions. So it's like I was literally on all fours, like trying to go back and forth, like trying to, keep my pelvic area moving to kind of, help go through these contractions. I was making sure I was breathing and all that stuff. And I was just like, God, like, please let these pass so I can go to sleep. Like, I was tired. Like, these things had me up and I was tired. And mind you, like, I had to get up early that morning, going into Tuesday morning, just cause I had an appointment that day. Like, this was the day that I had my, this would have been my 39-week appointment, but I really wasn't 39 weeks yet. I was 38 weeks and 5 days. Early Tuesday morning, I'm talking about no sleep at all. Like, you ever lay in bed where you can't sleep and you just thinking like, dang, when I wish the time would come so I could get up. Like, that's how I was feeling. Like, I was just laying there talking about something. Okay, come on 5 o'clock, so I can get up, get dressed, get ready to go. But yeah, no, I got up. I was up at 4:45 a.m. up, okay, getting dressed, getting ready, because I was just like in so much pain still. I was like, I need to go ahead, get ready now so that they won't be like, people won't be waiting on me to go. And like, I told my mom, like, she was asking me, you okay and all that stuff. My dad was asking me, you okay and all that stuff. I was like, y'all, like, I'm hurting, I'm in pain. I was sitting there in the car, like, they would hit me, like they was hitting me, and I just had to sit up. I just had to sit up and just try to move around, like sitting in the car, going through a contraction, most uncomfortable thing ever. Like, it was so uncomfortable, I couldn't even deal with it. But the part that got me, and they really, like, I didn't even know this until after the fact, but I thought that Monday night I was having like some type of fever or something, or like I was just cold, because I was like shaking like really bad. Like, my body was shaking as if like I was sick. And so that also kept me up, and I was so confused, because I sleep with the fan on, but at the same time we had the heat on in the house, and it was already hot. So I had the fan on, and I'm just shaking, like shivering as if I was in Antarctica type stuff. But yeah, we ended up dropping everybody off and all that stuff. And since my appointment wasn't until later that day, I stayed with my mom. And I tried, like, once she dropped everybody off, I tried to go back to sleep. I couldn't. I couldn't go to sleep at all. Tuesday, November the 15th, that whole day, I was supposed to have an appointment later that day. I didn't make it to the appointment. Just to make the long story short, I didn't make it to the appointment. It come to find out, I was having actual contractions. So that pain that I was constantly feeling, the intensity that it was giving, like those was the real deal. And I was feeling them all throughout Monday night going into Tuesday morning. And I came to find that out through the app. I started counting my contractions to see, how far apart they were, and how often and all that stuff. Let you know when to go to the hospital, when to notify the doctor, to ask, if it's okay for you to go to the hospital and all that stuff. So when I started counting them, like within the first hour, it was saying to call the doctor and let them know, like, is it time and all that stuff, to let them know what's going on. And so I did. Mind you, this is around 12 o'clock on Tuesday, November the 15th, 12 o'clock in the afternoon. So, and my appointment was at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So I called them and I'm like, So I think I'm having contractions. And I've been counting them, and the app was telling me that I need to call you guys and all that stuff. Like, should I go to the hospital and all that stuff? And she was like, yes, if you need to go ahead, go to the hospital. And if we need to, come to find out we need to reschedule your appointment, we can. So I was like, okay. So I get off the phone with them. I tell my mom, like, she said we good to go to the hospital. She's like, you want to go right now, or like, do you want to wait? And so I was like, I can wait a little bit longer. We can wait a little bit. And so by the time 12:30 came, like, I kind of got a little, anxious. And then because they told us a certain hospital to go to, and from where we were to where the hospital was a good 30 minutes. So by 12:30, I was sitting there like, telling her we could wait. 12:30, I was like, okay, yeah, we need to go ahead and go to the hospital. Like, it's time to go to the hospital. And even on the app, like right when I was getting ready to tell her we need to go to the hospital, the app said, go to the hospital. And bro, my mom, she is so clutch. So that morning, I was telling her about my pains and all that stuff and how I couldn't sleep. And she was like, do we need to get your hospital bag? And at first I was like, no, like, I don't think, she's going to come today. I don't think we need to get a hospital bag. But she went ahead, she grabbed it out of my closet and put it in the car. And so, we going to the house. So here it is. 12:30, we getting ready to leave from where we was at. We getting ready to go to the hospital. She's driving, and so it's 30-minute drive from where we are. So we get to the hospital at around 1:00. And so we pull up to the ER entrance. She left me in the car, and she went to go get one of the, I guess, the nurse or whatever. So the lady came back out with the wheelchair and all that stuff and checking my vitals. She asked me how far along I was, and I told her I was literally 38 weeks and 5 days. So I was literally finna be 39 weeks the next day. But I was scared going to the hospital because I was like, I don't want to get here and then they, send me home. I don't want to have to go home. Like, that was really, because I was me still thinking like I haven't dilated at all. Like, I didn't know what to expect. They went ahead and admitted me into the hospital. They took me up to the labor and delivery. And they got me in a room and everything. When I got there, the nurses were super nice. When I got to the room, I wasn't having no contractions or anything. But they gave me a hospital gown to put on. After that, they came back because they had other people. Like, it was a bunch of people having babies that day. Like, the OR, they was telling me was full and all that stuff. So they had a few nurses come in and out. But when they finally came back in the room, they was able to check my cervix. Y'all, when she checked my cervix, tell me why I was dilated 6 centimeters. 6 centimeters.
6 centimeters.
Like, you telling me that them contractions was contracting that much? And I'm thinking, like, these Braxton Hicks. Like, for y'all who don't know, so you need a total of 10 centimeters for the baby to come out. So that's your cervix dilating 10 centimeters for the head to push out. Your girl was at 6 before she even got to the hospital, which was shocking to me because I told my mom too. I was like, I don't want to go to the hospital till my water breaks. Little did I know, like, girl, you had 6 centimeters. You're in active labor. So it's 10 centimeters for the baby to come out. You're in active labor at 5 centimeters. Like, literally went from a week ago to not dilating to We dilated 6 centimeters in 3 days or less. I was shooketh. I was shocked when she told me that. But yeah, they kept me in the hospital because at that point, like, the baby was coming. She was coming that day. They asked me if I wanted an epidural. My plans were to have a completely, like, natural birth. I didn't want no medicine. I didn't want an epidural. I did ask them if I could have, like, was there other options for pain medicine and all that stuff. But they told me because I was already dilated to 6 centimeters that an epidural was my only option. So, you know, I was just like, okay, I'll go ahead and take the epidural. And even then, like, they didn't give it to me right away. Like, because like I said, they were having so many babies that day, like the OR and stuff was full. So the anesthesiologist, I think that's how you say it. Yeah, she was in the OR with another patient. So I had to wait on her. You okay? It's okay. I had to wait for the anesthesiologist to come back and give me the epidural. So, mind y'all, we got to the hospital at 1 o'clock. I was in my room by 1:20, where I was, you know, gonna do my labor. I was in my room by 1:20. And so we were sitting there waiting. So the lady came back, ended up giving me the epidural and all that stuff. And so I was still having contractions, didn't feel nothing, literally didn't feel nothing. I had a contraction while she was putting it in and I still didn't feel nothing. Like, come to find out, my pain tolerance is really, really high. Cause, man, to go through 3 days of labor and not even, like, know that you're actually having real contractions, I think that's something. I was telling my mom, I was like, this baby gonna come by like 3 o'clock. She gonna be here by 5, whatever. And I was texting, you know, my people, letting them know, y'all, I'm at the hospital. Like, we getting ready to have a baby. So while it's okay, mama. It's okay. So while we're waiting to, you know, to see what's going on, all that stuff. Also, we was waiting on the doctor, cause she was still at her other office at her appointments that she still had. So we had to wait on her too. So while we did that, they gave me the epidural. Also, they went ahead and broke my water. After they checked me to make sure that the baby's head was in, you know, the right position, all that stuff, they got to go ahead and break my water. As soon as we got in the room, the first thing I did was I went ahead and turned on, like, my gospel music. So I did make a hospital playlist. When I was packing my hospital bag, I went ahead, I was setting the atmosphere. But I had a birthing plan, and I really was praying that everything would go, you know, according to plan. You know, I prayed over my birthing plan while I was writing it, you know, the days before I was going into the hospital. And I even talked to my doctor about it. But due to failure to progress, I did not have a natural birth. And like I said, I did get an epidural, so I did not have an unmedicated birth. I'm gonna say from 1:30 to 8:30 that night, I only dilated a total of 7 centimeters. So they did give me Pitocin to help me dilate more, but she was just in there chilling. Like, she was not moving no more. Like, I was still having contractions and all that stuff, but she wasn't trying to come out. So from 1:30 to 8:30, they had me, trying to move around from side to side, trying to switch positions to, see if that would help encourage her to move some more. And it didn't. She stayed in one spot. Of course, they was monitoring her heartbeat and my contractions, and it was a few times when it did go down, but for the most part, like, it was really consistent. She did good. But the part that really I really didn't like was the epidural. They had me on the epidural for like 8 hours straight. And because she did not come out naturally, I did have to have a C-section. And so the epidural lasts until after your delivery. I literally had the epidural from the time that I got to the hospital to my room at 1:30 all the way until after it got closer to her being delivered. I was on the epidural for a long time. Also, I did not eat anything that whole day. That whole day, I didn't eat anything. I barely drank anything, because I was in that much pain and I really wasn't thinking about it. So the epidural did end up making me sick, especially for being on it that long. It did make me sick afterwards. After giving birth, I ended up throwing up. And I was still having labor shakes. And that's how I found out that they were called labor shakes, is when I got to the hospital and the nurse was telling me, she was like, oh yeah, that's just your body, preparing you to go into labor, trying to help regulate itself for you to go into labor. After the doctor got to the hospital, they wheeled me to the OR. She was here by 9:40. She weighed 8 pounds, 11 ounces, 20 inches, healthy baby girl. It didn't go as planned, but I am grateful for the experience. We ended up staying at the hospital for 3 days. Yeah, we was there for 3 days. The next day, after that surgery, I was up moving around. Even the nurses and stuff, they were surprised that I was up moving around. And my mom was saying, Zion, you literally just had a major surgery. What are you doing? But it was good. Overall, we're having a good recovery. I'm 2 weeks postpartum. I can't complain. I've been up moving around. Definitely will be staying in the house for a while. Especially since it's finna start getting colder and all that stuff outside. But I mean, there's nothing much else I can tell y'all. It was most definitely an experience, and that's something that I have learned. Even watching other people's videos about their labor and delivery vlogs, it is an experience to give birth, and everybody's experience is different and unique to that person. Yeah, thank you guys for watching. Be sure to stay tuned, because y'all know what it is. December is here, and that means Vlogmas is on the way, and we got a new member of the family. Y'all, she sleep. We got a new member of the family, so she would most definitely be included in this year's Vlogmas. But y'all let me know what y'all want to see for this Vlogmas. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. We'll see y'all in the next one.